Hello, this is Little Green Ghouls, and welcome to Give Yourself Goosebumps, where, reader beware, you choose the scare. This week, I'm excited to visit Trapped in Batwing Hall. This story takes us on a pretty straightforward haunted house adventure, with a little bit of anamorphine thrown in for good measure. I didn't find it as creative as the previous two, but it's still a pretty good time. Once again, there are over 25 different endings to explore in this one, so let's read the blurb on the back and get started. Join the Horror Club. Being the new kid in school is no picnic. At your old school, you had tons of friends, but now you don't even have one. Then you meet Nick. He asks you to join the horror club. The horror club meets in an old mansion known as Batwing Hall. It's dark, it's spooky, and it's where your adventure begins. The members of the horror club are going on a scavenger hunt. If you join the red team, you'll find out the truth about your new friends. They're actually monsters. One is a green-skinned reptile, another a hulking giant. If you join the blue team, you get turned into a furry-faced vampire bat. The choice is yours in this scary Goosebumps adventure that's packed with over 20 super spooky endings. Okay, now let's start this summary. The book opens with this premise. We're a new kid in town, just finishing up our first week of school. We're feeling lonely and have yet to make any friends. While walking home, some kid chucks a rock at us, but in a friendly way, I guess. He introduces himself as Nick and claims to be in our class, even though we have no recollection of him. Eventually, he invites us to join the horror club, where kids meet each Friday night to share scary stories in Batwing Hall. This is an old abandoned house at the end of the block that used to belong to Professor Krupnik, and everybody thinks it's haunted. Nick then tells us how it's rumored that some kids were invited inside on Halloween night and were never seen again, and how there have been sightings of little creatures in monster costumes roaming the house. We're then given my favorite choice that's in each of these books, where we're asked to join the monster club and start this adventure, or say no and go home. As is tradition, I'm saying no first to see what happens. We head home and are still depressed about having no friends, so we call Nick and decide to join the horror club anyways. So, once again, there is no real choice to get out of all this. We meet outside Batwing Hall and are introduced to a strange fidgety girl named Debbie. Batwing Hall is a classic looking haunted house, and soon we're getting ready to walk inside when Nick suddenly shouts to get down. We're then given two choices: listen to Nick or ignore him and head for the door. I'm gonna ignore Nick because I don't appreciate his tone. But this leads to our very first ending. We assume Nick is just trying to scare us, but he was really trying to stop us from triggering the burglar alarm. So we end this one getting taken out by the police. We'll head back and listen to Nick this time. He warns us that we need to be careful, and we sneak inside the house where we meet 4 kids gathered around a candle who are not happy to see us. Instead of telling stories, they're playing a game tonight and insist that no new kids can join. They end up letting us play anyways, and we're given the option to join the red team or the blue team. The red team consists of Nick, Debbie, and Connor, who is described as smelling like trash, or the blue team with beautiful Laura, brave Marcy, and muscly Martin. Let's stick to the devil we know for now and go with the red team first. It's decided the red team will stay inside the house and complete a scavenger hunt, while the blue team will go outside. We're tasked with finding 1 human bone, 3 werewolf hairs, straw from a witch's broom, and a piece of mummy bandage. We don't think these things could possibly be real, but the kids all insist they are, and Nick says he'll prove it. Before we know it, Nick is ripping off his face to reveal some sort of lizard monster, while Debbie and Connor follow suit. Debbie has purple skin and is covered in warts, while Connor is suddenly 7 feet tall with 1 red eye. I feel like this is all escalated very quickly. We then have to decide whether we think this is all a joke, or if we think it's real. Predictably, saying it's a joke does not go well. We try pulling Nick's mask off, which only infuriates him, leading to our second ending, as Nick chomps down on us and Stine says, "We've come to a monstrous end." So we'll go back and take this seriously. We try to run away, but the monsters capture us and say the only way to escape is to complete the scavenger hunt before midnight. Otherwise, we'll be turned into a monster too and trapped in Batwing Hall forever. We start our search and have to decide whether to search the main floor or head upstairs. Let's get some distance on these monsters and head upstairs first. We try racing up an old dusty staircase, but as we ascend these stairs, our body starts to tingle and we're suddenly paralyzed. We're then given the choice to either ask Monster Nick for help or refuse help. Asking for help is the wrong answer, and this just leads to our third ending, as the monsters all announce we've gotten trapped in a force field and won't be freed until 12:01, where we are then fully transformed into a monster. If we refuse help, we're able to find a way out of this force field by fully relaxing our body and thinking of happy thoughts. This results in us heading back downstairs to explore the main floor. We then search the living room and find nothing besides a giant black rat. In the kitchen, we start opening drawers and find some bandages that we hope belong to a mummy. But Debbie shrieks at us that these are not the right ones. We're then given the choice to search a closet that appears to be oozing blood, or go search the dining room. Retreating to the dining room is not rewarded, and this results in our fourth ending as Nick mocks us for being scared of a little blood. He then announces we're running on monster time now, and it magically becomes 12:01. We then explode with fur and are hopelessly transformed into a monster. So now we'll go back and check out this bloody closet instead. Inside, we're relieved to see that it's just raspberry jam all over the floor, and then locate a box containing a skeletonized human hand. We snap off the pinky and tell ourselves, just 3 items to go. Debbie then beckons us to a corner, where she says she used to be a kid too, before the horror club transformed her, and she wants to help us escape. We then have to decide whether we trust her, or should continue the scavenger hunt without her help. I don't trust any of these monsters, so we're going to continue the scavenger hunt for now. Debbie does not appreciate being rejected and starts launching spiders from her hair. We then run down a hall and have to decide between an orange door and a green door. We'll go orange first, but this just results in our 5th ending that is also kind of a non-ending. We fall into darkness and somehow land in our own closet a day back in time, where we're invited to return to page 1 and start the whole adventure all over again. We'll now enter the green door this time, which just plops us back down into the living room, and Debbie is no longer in hot pursuit. A mummy comes staggering into the living room, and we're briefly repulsed by the stench of decay, until we remember we need to get a bit of its bandages. We follow the mummy down the hall when we overhear the 3 monsters chatting behind a pink door. We're then given the choice, keep following the mummy or eavesdrop for a bit. You all know I'm nosy, so we're gonna eavesdrop to our demise. We overhear the monsters discussing how the horror club has been around for over 500 years, but most of the new members transform into stone instead of monsters. Then, in our 6th ending, we suddenly feel heavy as we start to morph into stone, as Stine mocks that all we can do now is join a rock group. We'll go back and pursue this mummy some more. This leads to the mummy taking a nap outside its sarcophagus, and we have to choose whether we want to gather some bandages at the bottom of the sarcophagus, or try peeling them from the sleeping mummy. It's clearly a bad idea to mess directly with the mummy, so we're going to try that first. This actually goes pretty well. We're able to tear off some bandages, leaving just 2 items to go, and then follow a spiraling staircase behind the sarcophagus upstairs to search the next floor. Once upstairs, it's suddenly very cold and we feel dizzy. Stine then presents 2 paths, and we have to choose based on what we happen to be wearing. If we're wearing a sweater, go one way, if not, go another. It's 85 degrees out, so I'm definitely not in a sweater. This leads to a pitch black hallway where we eventually feel a rope ladder against the wall. We decide to climb up it and come across a door to the attic. Inside the attic, we spot a tall glass box with an old broom leaning against it. We go to grab some broom bristles because we think it might be the witch's broom, when suddenly a woman springs to life inside the glass box. She begs for us to let her out and she offers to help, so we're given the choice to either help this witch or just grab the broom. I say screw this old witch and head for the broom, which is the wrong mindset to have. This leads to our 7th ending, where we grab the broom just as the witch is finishing casting her spell. We become stuck to the broom, which rockets out the window. So we're out of the house, but doomed to soar the night skies forever. So we'll go back and help this witch now instead. We end up placing our hands on the glass and repeating some magic words to free her. She hands us the broom and warns us to be careful when removing the straw. She then shows us an elevator that we can take down to the basement where we'll find the werewolf. The witch vanishes in a puff of pink smoke, but when we try to get into this elevator, the broom gets stuck and we're given the choice to either snap off some straw, damaging the broom, or keep trying to get into the elevator. Breaking the broom is clearly the wrong choice here, so let's try that first again. This results in our 8th ending, where we snap the broom and step into the elevator, only there's no elevator anymore, and instead we plummet to our death. We'll go back and be nice to the broom. This leads to a very simple solution. We just had to move the broom diagonally to fit into the elevator. We stand inside when suddenly the floor vanishes and we're forced to grab onto the railing, thinking we're about to fall to our death. The broom then begins to glow and we're given a magic ride down to the basement, where we quickly spot this werewolf in a cage by the furnace. The 3 monsters appear and start taunting how we only have 4 minutes left to get these hairs, so we'll have to get into that werewolf cage. The werewolf seems to be afraid of the witch's broom, so we're able to back it into a corner. Then we're given an option to treat it like a dog and command it to give us some hairs, or pretend to be a wolf so we can get close enough to pluck the hairs. Pretending to be a wolf ends up being a bad decision and results in our 9th ending, where we do a really great job pretending to be a wolf and the werewolf becomes our BFF. But this takes too much time and now it's after midnight, so we lose again. We'll go back and try bossing this werewolf around instead. We command it to sit, stay, and eventually shake, where we're able to pluck 3 hairs from its paw right before midnight, successfully completing the scavenger hunt. The 3 monsters are suddenly gone, so we creep back upstairs and find Debbie, Nick, and Connor back in human form, sitting around like nothing happened. Nick then starts to tell a story about 3 cursed kids who needed someone to free them with a magical scavenger hunt, and in our 10th ending, we get up and walk out of this house because we already know how this story ends. We should now probably work backwards real quick and see what other endings we're hiding in this scavenger hunt adventure. We'll go back to that random sweater or no sweater choice and see what happens if we're bundled up. We head down a hallway covered in crusty old wallpaper and stumble across Nick, Debbie, and Connor playing their favorite video game, Mud Monsters, which is clearly a You Can't Scare Me reference. We end up challenging the monsters to a bet. If we win, we're free. If we lose, we turn into a monster instantly. During the game, we have to dodge mud attacks, so we're given the choice, jump over a mud wave or duck under it. Ducking under a wave isn't going to be very effective, so this leads to our 11th ending, where we're transformed into a monster, but at least we get to play our favorite video game some more. If we jump the mud wave, we end up getting to the final round and destroying all the mud monsters, thus winning the game. We waste no time and race for the front door, only to get briefly stopped by a one-handed skeleton, who we kick in the shin and escape from. When we return home, we find our little brother playing mud monsters, and after we join him, we promptly lose the game, but at least we're free in our 12th ending. This time, we'll hop back to where we have to decide to pull the bandage off the mummy directly, or out of his sarcophagus, and we'll go for the sarcophagus this time. We reach for a piece of bandage poking out of the bottom when a hand smashes through the case and drags us inside. When the sarcophagus opens, we've been teleported to some ancient chamber full of strange men in white robes who announce they're going to be mummifying us. We beg to be let go and are offered 2 stones with the promise that one will send us home. We can choose a plain gray rock or a glowing red one. I'm going to choose the glowing red one since it's clearly enchanted, and this works. We briefly get so hot that we think we've been set on fire, but we're sent back to Batwing Hall. However, bad news, it's now too late and we transform into a monster once again in our 13th ending. If we go back and grab the gray stone, it just ends up being a rock, but we're not defeated yet. We take off running through these ancient chambers and come across King Ramalama and beg him for help. He says he likes us and gives us a choice to stay with him, or we can try to run away. We'll accept his offer at first to see if we become royalty. The king is thrilled and happily leads us to the next chamber, where we get some bad news. He's old and will be dying soon, so he wants to have us mummified now to join him in the afterlife. We're then strapped down to a table in our 14th ending, where they graphically describe the mummification process and how they'll be pulling mushy brains out of our nose. Okay, so now we'll go back and run away from the ancient chamber instead. We'll step out into this beautiful courtyard, and soon the king has changed his mind and sends his evil priests after us. We spot a sarcophagus, just like the one in Batwing Hall, and can hide in there, or hide in the tall thicket of reeds. If we go into the sarcophagus, we're just sent back to Batwing Hall and continue the mummy bandage storyline we already completed, so that's a dead end for our purposes. Instead, we'll try hiding in these reeds. Once in the reeds, we're quickly attacked by a giant snake, only to be rescued by a tiny man playing a wooden flute. We're told we'll have to practice at least 10 hours a day for the next 3 years before we're allowed to return to Batwing Hall. In our 15th ending, where we're condemned to music lessons, we're nearly done with the scavenger hunt storyline. We just need to return to where we had to choose to trust Debbie when she offered help, or continue the scavenger hunt, and this time we're going to trust Debbie. This is a very short-lived story branch, because trusting Debbie just leads in her betraying us and trying to feed us to Nick and Connor, but we're able to escape into the green door from earlier and start the mummy storyline all over again, so it's another dead end. Alright, this now means we're finally able to go way back to the start and join the blue team instead of the red team this time. The blue team has Laura, Marcy, and Martin, and we're all headed outside. Remember, this one is way far back, so we don't know that any of this evil shit is inside this house yet, and we learn this time we'll be playing The Hunt, where each team has to find the scariest thing they can. Since we're new to the group, we have to endure some hazing and are sent into the cemetery alone to search. We come across the crypt of Dr. Krupnik, the last owner of the house, and decide to explore inside. Outside the crypt, there's a sign that reads, "Who turns the stone will grow bat bones." We are then given the choice to either crawl through a hole in the roof, or just try opening the stone door. I want to turn into a bat, so we're going through this front door. We turn the stone door and hear a strange shriek as a bat flies out. Inside, there's nothing but cobwebs and a coffin, so we head back out and discover all the other kids are gone, so we head home to bed. That night, we wake up sore and thirsty, only to discover we somehow shrunk and are now covered in fur. We make our way to the bathroom mirror to see that we've become a full-on bat. We're then given the option to return to the cemetery now, or wait until the morning to see if we change back after some sleep. If we decide just to wait it out, things seem okay at first. We wake up human again, but have some strange cravings for beetles during breakfast. Once outside, the sun is so intense it makes us blister, even after covering up in a bunch of clothes. We end up hiding inside all day, claiming to have a headache, because it becomes apparent we're still part bat and can't handle the sun. At night, we transform fully back into a bat, and decide to fly out to the crypt because we hope if we're able to shut the crypt door, the spell will be reversed. Along the way, we learn we have sonar powers, and have a strong craving for dusty, tasty moths. We reach the crypt and decide we're going to need to get some help, and are given 3 choices. We can ask Martin the strongest, Laura the friendliest, or Marcy who seems to be the bravest. We'll try Martin first so we can shut this door. We locate his house and have to wait for him to get home, We fall asleep inside his bedroom and are rudely woken up inside somebody's death grip. Martin's dad has a hold of us and tosses us into a paper bag. Then, in our 16th ending, we're taken to a bat house at the zoo and forced to live with the other bats. We'll now go back and ask Laura for help instead. This goes somewhat better as we're able to locate Laura's house and overhear her on the phone making plans to meet up at the mall the next day. We try to speak to her, but all that comes out is squeaks, and she tries to assault us with bug spray. We return home and decide to go to the mall the next day to ask for help. Stine just ignores that putting on a bunch of clothes didn't work last time, and this time we make it to the mall unburned. At the mall, we want to tell Laura, Martin, and Marcy about the bat situation, but first have to make a choice. Agree to go to the new science store, or see Dracula at the movies. We don't have time for movies, so we're gonna go see the science store first, whatever that consists of. At this science store, there's fingerprinting kits and a little science experiments available for purchase, but more importantly, there's a display of exotic beetles. The bat urges take over, and soon we're stuffing our face with beetles to everybody's collective horror. We're then hauled to jail for shoplifting, but as we're dangling upside down in prison, we have a great idea. Once we're bailed out, we set out on our 17th ending, where we invent a new ice cream called Beetleberry Crunch, which is a huge success and makes us a multi-millionaire. We'll now see what happens if we decide to see Dracula instead. Once in the darkness of the theater, we transform into a bat. We try to escape to the bathroom, but it's no use. We're a full-on bat now. People assume this is some sort of promotion for the theater, so we're given the choice. Tell your friends now that you're a bat, or show them at Batwing Hall. This isn't much of a choice really, because they both lead to the same place. If we choose to tell them, we fly outside and turn back into a kid in the light. Then, when our friends come outside the theater, we all agree to meet at Batwing Hall anyways, because they don't believe our story. We take the bus to Batwing Hall and are walking up the hill when a voice shouts halt. We're then given the choice to freeze or to run away. We'll halt this time since last time we got arrested. We're then face to face with the ghost of Professor Krupnik, who can help us change back into a human if we keep the horror club outside of his house. We're then given the choice, convince the kids that the house is haunted, or to try to get them to move to a new haunted location. I feel like they'll like that it's haunted, so we'll try to get them to a different place instead. We take the kids over to the graveyard across the street, and everybody thinks this will be a great spot, until a skeleton hand bursts out of the ground and starts to drag Laura under. Soon, all four of us are being pulled into the ground as the professor's ghost appears and laughs how he doesn't want these kids in his graveyard either. And we meet our 18th ending as we're smothered in the dirt. We'll go back a step and try to convince these kids that Batwing Hall is too haunted to meet in. That way, Professor Krupnik will turn us back into a kid. We convince the professor to scare the kids, but they're all unfazed by the presence of a ghost, and we're given the choice, try something new or help the professor scare them away. We'll pivot to something new, but this just leads to our 19th and happy ending. The kids start peppering the professor with questions, and he starts to love the attention. They then invite him to join the horror club, and he frees us from the bat spell. Let's now try to help the professor scare the kids away. This doesn't go anywhere good though, because the professor has had enough of our bullshit and turns all of us into bats in our 20th ending. So now we'll go back to where we were asked to halt, or keep running, and this time we'll run. We sneak back into the house and hide behind a chair as we wait for our friends, just in case the person who shouted earlier appears. When the kids all arrive, they're pretty late and it's almost sundown. We launch into our bat story but transform before we can tell them to close the crypt door. Eventually, we lead them to the crypt, where we're still trying to show them to shut it and are given the choice. Land on the door handle or fly inside the crypt. I'm going to land on the handle because that seems clearer to me. We end up twisting the handle as the three kids push the stone door shut. Green mist billows out from the crypt, and suddenly we transform back into a kid in our 21st ending, where we tell the group that we have a great story to share at the next horror club meeting. We'll now hop back and see what happens if we fly to the crypt instead. The kids all get the hint, but this time Martin twists the door handle instead of us. So when the door shuts, we turn into a human, but Martin is transformed into a bat. Laura tries opening the door again before anybody can stop her, and she transforms into a frog, because inside the crypt, we notice another note that says the crypt door can only be turned once a year, or the results will vary. So in our 22nd ending, Martin and Laura are stuck as animals for the next year. We still have more bat storylines to explore though. I need to jump way back and ask Marcy for help. We locate her babysitting a toddler and playing with some magnetic letters. She leaves the room and we're able to arrange the letters to say, "Help, I am a bat." Marcy credits this to the toddler at first until she spots us and starts screaming. We're then given the choice, keep trying to communicate or run away. We'll keep trying to spell things first, and this goes pretty well, as Marcy gets excited about the potential fame of having a bat who can write, kind of like Charlotte's Web. She leaves the room, and as we're trying to write out our name, the toddler accidentally knocks over a cabinet, which abruptly smashes us in our 23rd ending. So we'll go back now and try to escape instead. She chases us with a fly swatter for a bit before we're given the choice to fly upstairs or into the kitchen. The kitchen feels like a bad idea, so we're headed there first. We end up trying to hide in a freezer of all places, and shocker, we meet our 24th ending where Stine says we've turned into a batsicle. So now we're going to try to escape upstairs instead. We end up hiding in a pile of stuffed animals like E.T. until Marcy leaves. Then we decide to fly to Laura's house and start that storyline, which we've already done, so it's a dead end for us. We're getting closer to the end now, so we need to go all the way back to right where we were first transformed into a bat and had to decide to go back to bed or return to the cemetery immediately, and this time we're going to go fly straight to the cemetery. We struggle a bit trying to fly and getting lost in the process. We're then given the choice, ask a random couple for help or keep looking on our own. If we ask for help, this just results in getting tangled in some poor woman's hair and we end up retreating to our bedroom until the next morning, which is a storyline we've already completed. So we're going back and we'll just keep searching on our own. It's suddenly very windy, but once we locate the crypt, we fly inside and the door slams shut behind us. We're still in bat form though and decide to explore the crypt further. We spot a crack in the floor with words next to it that read, "Those who enter will be..." We decide just to risk it and find out what will happen. As we crawl through the hole, we're suddenly transformed back into a kid, but are free falling into nothingness, like Alice in Wonderland. We hit the ground with a gentle plop, and seem to be in some sort of awful swamp. We spot a signpost for 2 paths, and have to decide to go towards the crypt, or a mystery location. Going towards the crypt results in a dark end, where we come across a boat ferried by a demonic-looking skeleton, and when we reach the other side, we hit our 25th ending, as we're transitioned into the afterlife and now we're a full-on ghost. So we'll go back and follow this mystery sign this time. We follow a path, but soon hear loud footsteps following behind. We race into a cave labeled Monster Library, and things get weird. We meet a 2-headed monster who offers to help us escape, but first we need to tour the Monster Library. This entire library only contains books on monsters, and while touring, we spot a sign leading to the crypt and are given 2 choices. Follow the sign to the crypt, or wait for the 2-headed tour guide to return. Waiting for the monster is not the correct answer, because this just results in our 26th ending, where we're forced to read every book in the library out loud to these monsters, or we'll be eaten. So now we'll see what happens if we follow the sign to the crypt instead. We run away from the 2-headed monster and fling open this crypt door, only to fall neck deep in thick mud, because in our 27th ending, we are now food for a swamp creature that lives in there. Although, this ending does offer a second chance to head back to the first page and rejoin the horror club. Okay, now we just need to go back a ways and explore one more path. This is where we first were exploring the crypt, and we're given the option to open the door or try crawling through a hole in the roof, and this time we're going in the hole. This is a short-lived adventure though, because it just results in our 28th and final ending, where we get wedged halfway in this hole, Winnie the Pooh style, as something creeps closer and closer in the dark. Well, that's it. All 28 endings are fully explored. I thought this one was okay for the most part. I feel like the previous 2 books contained some more creative endings and had a bit more going on in them, but it was still a good time. Next week, we're back on Fear Street with Lights Out, which appears to be set at a summer camp, which we all know are Stine's bread and butter, so I have high hopes for this one. Let me know in the comments what you thought of Trapped in Batwing Hall. What was your favorite storyline? Do you like going to the science store? Would you be okay with being a bat? Anyways, as always, thanks again for watching, and make sure you subscribe for
the pride, the love,